Welcome back to another week of Mortgage Matters in Minutes. I'm Brent Rasmussen, owner of Mortgage Specialists. So today we're going to chat about bonus, commission, overtime. How do these work for qualifying in regards to mortgage loans? So in over 25 years of lending, we see all kinds of individuals receive all kinds of income. And I feel like over the last 5-10 years, income calculations are much more unique than just people receiving a flat salary or a flat hourly rate, which is fine in regards to mortgage, but we need to look at the calculations and the formulas to make sure we are doing things accurately. And today we're going to explain how the industry does it. Again, this may differ a very little bit from lender to lender, but Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the ones that are going to set these rules, or FHA and VA are going to tell lenders how to do this. And how do they do that? We do loans for individuals. We send those to those institutions for them to pick up as an investment, and they tell us whether we did the loan right or wrong. And over time, they will audit files and let lenders know, does this work or does this not work? And many times there's a situation, not all clients being the same will receive income in all different kinds of fashions. So today, we're going to talk about bonus, commission, and overtime and how they work, because we can use that additional income. And many people obviously base their budgets and what they spend money on off of that because they receive it regularly all the time. So what we're always looking for here is consistent and predictable income. So if it is inconsistent or if it's not likely to continue, underwriting is not going to continue to use that. So let's first chat about what we need. We will always need a 2-year history of this overtime bonus commission. Why is that? Because they've found through the years that if you've received a certain number over 2 years, that is going to be the rule of thumb for accuracy. Same with being self-employed. They're going to want you to see 2 years of tax returns. So any kind of unique income, they're going to want to see you receiving that for a couple years, which can be challenging. If you're looking at obtaining a mortgage loan, you might need to wait obviously 3 years before you can qualify if you want to use that income to show past behavior, because when you first start receiving something, generally it's not as big as you work it up to be. So you'd want to supply pay stubs from previous years. Generally, we ask our clients to do that. Get us the December pay stub from each year, because we can then itemize and see what was salary, what was commission, what was bonus, what was work time off, you name it, all those different things. And then we can itemize each category and average that over 2 years. We also can get what's called a verification of employment from your employer's HR department, which will also help to itemize that out. I will just let you know that that takes much longer time frame to get back from employers than you as a consumer or the borrower providing it as well. So how is this 2-year calculation going to be looked at? They're going to average it over time. So they might look at this being 2025 and they'll look at 2024 and 2023. They're going to want to see those being consistent. If it's gone up, that's very good. They'll average it over those months. So you might see, if we're all the way through 25, we might average 12 months of 25 and 12 months of 24. If it's different than that, that's what we're going to chat about here in a minute, is understanding what happens when your recent year is much less than previous years. And nearly all lenders that we work with are going to use the worst case scenario, meaning, let's say you made $20,000 of overtime the last couple years. This year, you've only made $10,000. Unless there's a massive reason for the explanation, like you were out of work for maternity leave, or you had a disability or something like that, great. But if it just was your employer cut hours and they got rid of this commission, this bonus, this overtime, they're not going to let you use that bigger number you've gotten in the past. They're only going to use the current set of numbers, what we call year to date. And that's why pay stubs are so important. They tell us what you've received already, and that's what underwriting is going to review. They don't necessarily care what's going to happen in the future. They want to know what has already transpired, and that's the numbers they are going to use. So this is where we want to get really in depth with a client sending us paperwork, which many times can delay a pre-approval. Sometimes when realtors refer a client over to us, usually a pre-approval takes less than a day or so. But many times when we see these situations that we need to use as much income as possible, we need the paperwork, and it sometimes takes the client a little longer to dig up those items that we need. So lastly, let's talk about declining income. If, for example, in that comparison, you were making 20,000, and now all of a sudden 10,000, that is considered declining income. And they might not be able to use any of that income if it's a big spread. So maybe you made 20,000, and then this year you made $1,000. They're going to say that's too low to average, and that's too low to even consider or use moving forward because there's such a discrepancy. But if it's a close amount, you can always lobby to say, hey, here's the situation, here's what's documented and gone on, here's how it's going to change. And then it's kind of a negotiation between you and the underwriters to see if they'll take that different income. Generally, if you see income drop more than 40%, or if some certain income's gone away, we see a biggest challenge when individuals may move from salary to commission. And they know based on their production with commission, they're going to be receiving more payment. But now if they switch different kinds of pay, we might need to wait 2 years for using that income to then qualify. Even though in your eyes and the employer's eyes, it's the same income, just a different way to calculate it, doesn't necessarily matter. Doesn't match all the rules of conforming Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans. So it could be a scenario that no longer are we allowed to use that income, and we have to wait a certain time frame to get to that average. So all these sources of income are different, whether you're self-employed, whether you have an Uber driver, whether you are a individual that works seasonal, which we see during the holidays, and you receive different pay at different times. They're going to want to look at this 2-year average and make sure that your income is going to be able to qualify with the guidelines and rules that are set. So if you have any questions about this at all, get started early. Give us a call at 402-991-5153. Check us out on our website at mtg-specialists.com and hit that like and subscribe button below, hopefully to gain more education and information about mortgage rules and some real estate that applies to you. My name is Brent Rasmussen. I'm the owner of Mortgage Specialists, and we'll see you here next time. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.